If you're wanting to cut out intricate shapes out of stained glass, crockery, or various other materials, and you want to be able to cut in any direction, well, in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating and reviewing the Gryphon Ring Saw. And it's been supplied by a company called Access Glass, and I'll put their website down the bottom of the screen, and I'll also add their website in the description box of this video. So anyway, let's get into the video, review the Gryphon Ring Saw, and put it through its paces. Well, that was extremely well packed, and that's very important because you want it to arrive safely to you. Now, before I put the actual work surface platen on top of this, I'm going to show you the actual water level inside the reservoir. Now, in the bottom of the actual water reservoir, there's a water level. That's where you need to take the water up to, and do not exceed that level. Now, if I was going to use this ring saw now, I would actually put the water in the reservoir and then attach the work surface. However, I'm going to be showing you some of the items that came with the ring saw, so I'm going to put the water in at a later date. But I'll show you how to actually attach that work surface. Now, the ring saw surface area has a cutout here, and we need to make sure that the actual blade sits in the center of this hole. It can't hit the left side or the right side or the front. It needs to sit in the center of that hole. And it's quite easy to do. All we need to do is just get the surface area, slide it on, and sit it in there. And you'll notice that if you look at where the blade is, it should be in the center of that hole that I was talking about. Then all I do is I just hold the center quite lightly, keeping the two halves of this surface area together. And then I just go around and just slot it in to the actual grooves on the, there you go, on the edge. See how the blade is in the center of the hole? It's not touching any of the outer edge. That's now in its right location. Now, the Gryphon Ring Saw comes with an instruction manual, and that has some important information in, as well as safety tips and how to change the blade. There's also a piece of paper that says important, read first, so I suggest you do that before you do anything. It also comes with a spare blade, which I think is absolutely awesome, and a maintenance kit, which consists of a spanner and some wheels and some other items in there as well, so keep that very safe. Now, before I get into demonstrating the ring saw, I just want to run through a few of the things about the ring saw. Now, this unit here, this part of the unit, can be used as a handheld unit, so you don't have to have it attached to the actual work surface area. However, the vast majority of people are actually going to use it as is, with the work surface area attached. But the option is there for those people that find that they need to cut something where they don't need the work surface area. Regular cleaning of the reservoir is recommended to avoid the buildup of the glass dust in the bottom. Now, the glass dust can be very abrasive and can accumulate and damage the rotating parts inside. So don't just ignore that and leave it there and then eventually you'll clean it out. You do need to clean it out quite regularly. Now, if you are not using your ring saw for a while, it is advisable to clean out the reservoir rather than leave the blade sitting in the water. As I said earlier, always read the instruction manual along with the safety guidelines before operating. Now, there are other accessories that you can purchase separately, such as a blade, a separating blade, that allows you to actually cut out the center of, say, the letter A without the need for a lead-in slot. So the actual blade does separate, and if you drill a hole in, say, the center of the letter A, you can actually then put the blade through the hole, reconnect it, and then start cutting around the center of the A, if that's something that you need to do. And in some cases, we do need to do things like that. Now, also available is the Gryphon dressing stone. Now, this is very important if you're going to do quite a bit of cutting and you want to rejuvenate the diamond blade. Now, this actually removes the dull top layer of the diamonds and any contamination on those as well, and it exposes the new diamonds, resulting in restoration of the cutting action. But if you're going to use something like this, you should use it very sparingly on the diamond blades. Now on the side of the Gryphon Ring Saw are 2 holes, one here and one on this side. This face shield has 2 lugs, and all we need to do to attach the face shield is line those lugs up with the holes and then just gently push that face shield into those lugs. It locks in, easy as anything. Now this face shield needs to remain on at all times because the water travels up through the arm and down and comes out the bottom of the arm here. So this face shield helps hold these two pieces of the arm together. Now I have filled the reservoir up with just normal tap water because where I live is soft water. However, if you're in an area and you have hard water, where there's minerals in the water, then you may be better off using distilled water. It may add longevity to not only the blade, but also to the ring saw unit itself. Now I've also got my safety glasses on and I'm also wearing protective gloves. Now I probably don't need these gloves, but I don't know how much water is going to come out of this ring saw. So I've really only got these gloves on just to protect my sleeves here. And like I say, you know, I may not need them. It's just going to depend on how much water comes out. So I'm now ready to turn it on. Well, I just turned it off because of the sound. It's not really that loud. It is kind of noisy, but it's not really over the top noisy. And I just wanted to explain that I'm now going to cut out this area here. And you probably can't see it because there's a bit of glare. Well, that might be easy for you to see now. This is the design of the glass, and I'm going to cut that curve out there. I'm going to do it in real, or part of it in real time. If I find it's quite slow, then I will speed it up, but I want you to see how it performs in real time, at least to start off with. You do not put pressure on the blade or force the glass into the blade. You let the blade do the work. You are only controlling the direction of the actual of the glass. You're not forcing that into the blade because otherwise you can break blades or they can jump off the mechanism inside it. So it's important you let the actual ring saw do the work, but you're only guiding the glass. So I'm now going to get into it. Well, I have quite a bit of water coming out of this actual arm, so I'm actually going to take some water out of the reservoir. I don't need that much water pouring out, so we'll see how we go. Right, I've taken some water out, and also I didn't have this clipped in properly here, and it was a little bit hard to start off with. That was my fault. I should have made sure that tray was firmly anchored down. So I've taken some water out, so let's give it another whirl and see how much water comes out. My cutting leaves a bit to be desired for, but I could actually, by not having as much water coming out, I could actually see the line. So this cut here is a lot better than that because there was quite a bit of water coming out, which I didn't need, and it just made it difficult to see the line that I wanted to cut across. And like I said earlier, because I didn't have that pushed down, it kept running into the edge there. So important. Make sure you have this firmly anchored down in all areas. And I'm really quite happy with that. Now, what I'm going to do is cut out a sticker that I've put on here and see how we go. sticker that I've cut out. So the sticker is actually just a sticker that I had, and I just stuck it down on onto the glass. That sticker is a self-adhesive vinyl that's waterproof, and I just stuck it on there and then decided to cut out. So just a bit of fun. Now the ring saw can be very handy for cutting out crockery. So if I wanted to cut out this design here, I'm able to cut that out with the ring saw so as it keeps that centerpiece intact. And the same as any of these designs around on the border, I can cut those out without a problem. Now, of course, how quick it cuts is going to depend on what the plate is made of, whether it's porcelain or whatever, because porcelain is going to be harder to cut, as well as the thickness of the plate. So just keep that in mind. It is going to be harder than stained glass, so it's going to be slower. If you want to cut out, for instance, this area here and foil it and then add some solder to it, so if you want to create a necklace, then that's where it comes into its own. So it is quite handy to get the most out of a plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just roughly cut out this piece here and see how we go with that, just to show you how it works with crockery. There you go. Done a really nice job. And remember, it was cutting out a little bit of the edge there, which is thicker. But certainly it's done a nice job of it, so it comes in quite handy for when you're wanting to cut out patterns out of your plates, designs out of the plates. Like I said, it does depend on how thick the plate is, what the plate's made out of, as to the speed of what you'll be able to go. And have fun with it, and I think that's really come up really well. Okay, now what I'm going to do is give you my thoughts on this Gryphon Ring Saw. The Gryphon Ring Saw is a very capable machine, and it's going to make very short work out of those very hard to do cuts, or those cuts that are quite intricate that you've probably been trying to do with your glass scorer, your grazing pliers, or your double-wheeled nippers. This ring saw is going to make it a lot easier doing those intricate cuts. The one thing I would like to see improved on the Gryphon Ring Saw is attaching the work surface area to the ring saw base. At times I had difficulty slotting it in because of the plastic lugs that are underneath that work surface area. I can probably understand why they've done that is because the work surface area sits away from the edge of the ring saw, which means that probably any water that happens to go over the edge there will go into the channel and then go back into the reservoir, which I think is a great idea, and it's great attention to detail. However, from a user experience, I did have difficulty at times slotting that work surface area in. Now, I'm sure it probably is just my technique because there would be lots of people out there that haven't had that issue, but I just thought I'd bring it to your attention. Other than that, I thought the ring saw performed flawlessly, and I really, really enjoyed using it. Now, as far as the noise from the motor goes, I didn't hear anything excessive, and that could be because the motor is actually underneath the work surface area. But of course there was some sound and some noise, and you would expect that, but it wasn't anything to me excessive. Now, of course, that would depend on how sensitive your ears probably are. But for me, it was quite a pleasure to work with. Now, as far as the cutting goes, the ring saw worked flawlessly. I enjoyed using it. The only thing was at the very start where I didn't have the work surface area totally flat. I did find that was the hiccup that I faced in starting that initial cut when I first started the video. But other than that, it worked flawlessly. When I first started the ring saw, there was a lot of water being released and I didn't need all that water. So in the future, what I would do is I would add a little water into the reservoir and then start the ring saw and add a little bit more water until I had the amount of water flow that I needed. Now, if you add too much water, it can leak out of the join along the cutting arm because the water travels along that arm. So make sure also that you do not exceed that water level in the reservoir. The Gryphon Ring Saw isn't fast, but then it's not meant to be fast. It's meant to cut out intricate designs. Now, how fast you cut those designs out is dependent on the substrate that you're cutting out, and how well you cut them out is dependent on how good you are at cutting. But of course, over time, you will improve more and more where your cutting skills, like anything, will improve. Now, I always get asked, is it worth purchasing a ring saw? But I can't give you a definitive answer on that because it's going to be dependent on your needs. If you're going to be doing quite a bit of cutting of intricate shapes and things, then yes, it would be probably worth you investing in one. Or at least it's going to make it easier for you to do those intricate shapes. But remember, it is a specialized machine and the price is going to reflect that. But it is going to speed up and make it easier on doing those intricate shapes. So anyway, I hope this video has helped you. I hope you've taken quite a bit away from it. If you did enjoy it, think about giving a like. If you saw value in it, please share it far and wide. And if you have a comment, put a comment down in the bottom of the comment section on the YouTube channel. Perhaps you have a ring saw, perhaps you're looking at purchasing a ring saw, perhaps you've got a question about a ring saw. Put a comment down in the bottom of the comment section on the YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy.